Hi ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about algebraic expressions in 1.3, and to save a little bit of time I've gone ahead and written out my notes, so I'll try to give you a few seconds to pause the video so you can write things down if you would like as I go to each section. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the four main mathematical operations and some different words that they might use to mean these different operations. So this is obviously addition with the plus sign. Then also remember that they can use sum. Since it is a plus sign, they could also just say plus. You can also say added to. And then a couple more that are a little more obscure. If they just ask you for the total, often they're usually asking for addition, and then they can also say more than to mean addition. So anytime you see these things in a mathematical sentence, like we'll get to down here, these expressions, they want you to use the mathematical operation addition. This one is subtraction, and it's instead of sum, its word is difference. When you were younger, you may have called it minus. Instead of added to, they may say less than, meaning start with, so it's this less than this. So usually you start with whatever's here and subtract that from it. Fewer than is another thing, and taken from. It's not a hostage situation, they're just taking, like 3 taken from 6 would mean 6 minus 3. Then some of you may have used, what is it, like a star for multiplication in the past, or no, sorry, an X. You've used an X for multiplication in the past. When we get to high school, we really want to get away from using an X for multiplication because we will use so many X's in our equations that it would get really confusing if you had an X for multiplication and an X in your equation. So try to change over to just a little dot kind of filled in. So I've already said that this is multiplication. Remember that its math word is product, and sometimes they'll just say times. This one is division. Remember, it can also be written as a fraction. The fraction bar, that just means division. You might also see it say quotient, divided by, and also groups of. Division means put whatever we've got into groups of whatever we're dividing by. Okay, so now we're going to use those and do some rewriting as algebraic expressions. Okay, so the first one we're going to start off with is difference. So you can go up there, or hopefully you know that this means subtraction. Okay, the difference of 8 and a number x. So when it says the difference of 8 and some number, it means that they want 8 to go first. So the of means this 8 goes first, and the and means the x goes second, and we are going to subtract them. Okay, so watch where you see of and where you see and. The quotient of the sum, the quotient of the sum of 2 and a number y and 3. Oh gosh, this has a lot going on. Okay, so quotient, that means the big thing we've got going on is that we need to divide. Okay, so I'm going to make a division bar over here because I didn't leave myself enough room really there. Okay, quotient of, so this is about to tell me the two things. The two things one's gonna be in the numerator and one's gonna be in the denominator. So the first of is telling me what's then in the numerator. So the sum of 2 and a number y, that's all going to be in the numerator. Okay, so in the numerator I'm going to have the sum of 2 and a number y. So sum, remember, means that we're going to add 2 and a number y. Then, see, there's this comma, then it says and 3. That means that 3 is going to be in the denominator. Down here we have the sum of, then it says the product of a number k and 4. So that's our first thing. And then we're going to have and a number m. That's going to be our second thing. So we've got the sum, I should have used two different colors here, sorry. So the sum of, so that means we're going to add, so we're going to have an addition sign. Where do I put this? The product, what's product mean? Hopefully you know that that means multiplication of a number k and 4. So k times 4, and then the sum of that with a number m. The product, remember what's product mean? Product means multiplication of 2 and the difference, okay, so we're going to have 2 times the difference, that means subtraction, between 5 and a number n. So 5 and a number n is going to be my second thing. So 2 is my first thing, 5 and a number n is my second thing. So 5 and a number n, so the difference 5 minus n. There we go. Okay, next. Alright, I have $30 in my account and I deposit $5 each week. Write an expression. Okay, so I'm going to make this A. A, write an expression. How much do I have if I have $30 in my account and I deposit $5 each week? Write an expression using W for the number of weeks. Okay, so how much do I have all the time? I definitely have at least $30 in my account. And then I'm going to deposit $5 per week. So each week I'm going to add $5, but this is just telling me I'm adding $5. How do I show that it's for each week? Well, you would multiply it by W, which stands for the number of weeks. So each week I'm going to put in $5 and multiply it by the number of weeks. Okay. And then B, then determine how much money I have after 4 weeks. Okay. So in this case, 4 is the number of weeks, so W equals 4. So I do 30 plus 5 times 4, and 5 times 4 is 20, so 30 plus 20, I would have $50. Alright, now we're going to get into some bigger stuff. We're going to evaluate some expressions. Okay, so first we have our expressions. I guess I didn't tell you what the difference between an expression was and an equation. I don't know if you know this, but an expression would just be these three things. See, there are 3 terms, and there is no equal signs. So expressions do not have equal signs, and an equation would have an equal sign. So if this were an equation, there would be an equals and then something else over here. But for an expression, you just end it, you don't have an equal sign. So this says evaluate for a equals -4 and b equals -6. So what we have to do is we have to substitute our values, and when you put these numbers in, I want you to make sure that you use parentheses. Okay? After that, then we will follow our order of operations. And hopefully you remember from the first couple days that our order of operations is parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction, PEMDAS. So first I'm going to rewrite this expression. It's got a 3, but then it says A. Instead of an A, I'm going to put in the -4 that it says A is equal to. Now notice when I put it in, I put parentheses around it. Then a plus sign, 2, but then instead of a B, I want a -6. Square that, plus 5, and instead of an A, we want -4. Okay, now we need to follow our order of operations. So this is multiplication, multiplication, there's an exponent, and multiplication. So all I have is multiplication and an exponent. So my exponent is going to come first. So I've got 3 times -4 still, plus 2 times. Okay, now this is -6 squared, which if you type in your calculator as -6 squared, it will give you -36. That's wrong. You must type it in as either -6 squared or do -6 times -6. Because remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. So this is 36 plus 5 times -4. Okay, so now we can do the multiplication. We've got -12 here, 72 here, and -20 there. So -12 plus 72 is 60, minus 20. My final answer is 40. So when it says evaluate an algebraic expression and gives you these numbers, it wants a final answer of just a number. Okay, so next, evaluate 500 times 1.3 to the x for x equals 8. So I've got 500 times 1.3 to the x, and x is 8. Now this is kind of different. You haven't done this before. So grab a calculator, and I have my colored calculator here. So how we type this in to your graphing calculator is you do 1.3 and then you find the caret key. On the graphing calculator, it is above the division sign. If you're using one of the other calculators, ooh, that one's really gross looking. If you're using one of the other calculators, the caret key is to the left and above the 7. So there's the exponent key. So 1.3 to the 8th, and it gives me a really long decimal. Do I have to write that down? Yes, I need to write down that whole decimal. So I've got 500 times 8.15730,721. Okay, so I've got that whole thing, and I need to take that times 500. So if you do not clear your calculator screen, you can just hit times 500, and the calculator will take whatever this answer was and multiply it by 500, so you get this whole answer. Now that whole thing is my answer. However, I am going to round it. Now for rounding, unless I specifically tell you otherwise, do not round until the last step. If you round before the last step, your answer will be slightly off, and MathExcel will not accept even a slightly off answer. It will tell you you're wrong. So do not round until the very last step. And then round to the hundredths, but in MathExcel there will be light blue writing that will tell you what to round to. Make sure you read it. Make sure you read it. If you don't read it, then if it tells you what to round to and you're rounding to the incorrect place value, you still will have your answer wrong, even though you might be right, you're just rounding incorrectly. Okay, so I had 4,078.653. Hundredths is the second place after a decimal. And remember, you look to the one after that to see if you round up or not. 3 is less than 5, so 5 and less, and you do not round, oh gosh, I can't remember my rounding rules. I'll get back to you on that. So, yeah, 5 and greater you round up. So, 0.65, sorry. It's 6 o'clock in the morning right now, so my brain is not fully awake. I apologize for that flub. Okay, next, ticket prices. We have some tickets for some, I don't know, something that we're going to. Adult tickets are $8 and kids tickets are $5. Write an expression for the total amount of money collected in one day. Okay, so the very first thing you always have to do when you have a word problem with letters is tell me what the letters mean. Up here in this example, the problem told me what letter to use. Down here in this example, I'm telling you what letter to use, but it may not. So I'm saying I want A and K. A is going to be the number of adult tickets, and K is going to be the number of kid tickets. Okay. We need to write an expression. Where am I going to fit that? Okay. I'm just going to fit it right here. So if my adult tickets are $8 each, that means I'm going to make $8 for every adult ticket. And my kid tickets are $5, so I'm going to make $5 for every kid ticket. Now what should I do with those two pieces of information? Well, I need to add them because that will give me the total. Okay, you could also write this as 8 times A plus 5 times K because that's the multiplication. That's what we're doing is multiplying. But remember, when you do not have a sign shown, it means multiplication, so you can leave that operation out. So how much did I collect if 432 adults and 859 kids bought tickets? Well, it's still going to be 8 times the number of adults, so 432 plus 5 times the number of kids, which was 859, will tell me how much money I raised. So 8 times 432 and 5 times 859, hopefully I didn't mess that up, $7,751 is how much you collect in one day if there was that many $8 for each adult and that many adults and $5 for each kid and that many kids. Okay, last stuff. You're almost done. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Okay, algebraic expressions have terms. Terms are created by numbers and variables. Usually they're multiplied or sometimes divided, but they're the ones that are separated by addition and subtraction. So if you look at this really long string of expression right here, it has 1, here's a separation, 2, separation, 3, separation, 4, separation, 5, separation, 6 terms. So we have 6 terms in this string of an expression right here. Then coefficient, I will use this word a lot. You really need to know what it means. It is the number in front of the variable or variables. So in this one, my coefficient is -1. In this one, what's my coefficient? Hopefully you could figure out that it's 2. In this one, my coefficient is 3/4. In this one, my coefficient is -5. Does this one have a coefficient? Well, if a coefficient is the number in front of the variable or variables, does this one have any variables? No. So does it have a coefficient? Also no. Does this one have a coefficient? Hopefully you know the answer to that is yes. What is the coefficient? 5. Okay, a constant term is a term with no variable, just a number. So looking down here, do we have a constant term? Yes, we do. Which one is it? It is the 2. 2 is the constant term right there. Like terms have to have the same variables raised to the same power. So looking through here, what like terms do I have? Do I have like terms? Yes, I do. I have negative x squared is a like term with 3/4 x squared, and 5x is a like term, or sorry, negative 5x is a like term to 5x. Now what about 2y squared and 2? Do they have like terms? No, they do not, because this one has variables and this one does not. Okay, so here we go. You ready? So let's look first at these two like terms, because they're easier. So negative 5x and 5x. Can I combine those? Yes, you can combine like terms. So what is negative 5x plus 5x? Well, nothing. They are opposites. One's a positive, one's a negative, and they're the same number, so they cancel each other. Now this is going to be a little bit more difficult. Okay, we have to add negative 1x squared to 3/4 x squared. Well, this is a fraction, this is not. Remember to add fractions, and since this one is, we'll have to make that one a fraction. We have to have the same denominator. So right now, my coefficient is what? The coefficient is negative 1, and this one has a coefficient of 3/4. So I have to add those together. So in order to add these together, I need them to have the same denominator. So the denominator has to be 4. So we can make this a fraction. You can make anything a fraction by putting it over 1. And to make it have the same denominator, I need the denominator to be 4. So what do I multiply 1 by to get 4? And remember, anything you do to the denominator, you must do to the numerator also. So this would make this negative 4 divided by 4. So this will now change to negative 4/4 x squared, and this will change to 3/4 x squared. So when I add those together, negative 4 plus 3 is going to give me negative 1/4 x squared. Okay, then I still have the 2y squared and the 2 left over. So that answer is that expression simplified. You now need to log on to Math Excel and complete your assignment.